Hello everyone, my name is Gabby, and welcome back to the Dragon Ball Super Review, this time reviewing episode 95. The Universe 9 assassins go after Goku and Freeza takes delight from slaughtering all of them, with even the power of a god of destruction no match for him. And as it looks like everything is over, Freeza catches Goku off guard and paralyzes him with Titra's power. He contacts Universe 9 and asks if he can join their team instead, and while those gods discuss it, Frieza's plan is abruptly cut off when Beerus and Whis arrive. No one really trusts Freeza not to backstab them again, but at this point there's kind of nothing they can do. He'll be the 10th member. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, Freeza. Wow, Freeza just kind of absolutely stole the show in this episode. We don't normally get to see villains actually acting like villains and seeing them actually get the screen time to act like that, but this episode was basically entirely dedicated to that. From Frieza's brutal killings of the assassins to his just kind of unabashed evilness to the way he basically manages to outplay Goku and also attempts to outplay Beerus and Whis. Freeza in this episode has sort of gotten to the point where he just seems so powerful and so competent that Goku can barely control him, and it seems like Beerus and Whis even might have some trouble controlling him. And that is really interesting to see. I really like those kinds of villains where it just seems like they're just so competent and they end up just doing so much stuff right, you just sort of start to wonder how on earth the heroes are even going to be able to match up to them. And, you know, the way that the heroes actually do match up to them, that's what makes it interesting. It makes Freeza as a villain, if he is a villain, and not just some guy who's sort of roped into working on Universe 7's team, it makes him legitimately interesting as in a guy I just actually don't know how they're going to win, and that's going to make things fun. And I do like that Freeza is basically spending this moment to immediately try and backstab Goku in Universe 7 the first chance he can. I mean, he does literally trap Goku in a sphere of energy that could completely erase him from existence. I enjoy this because this is the one thing that I thought makes complete sense for his character. Because the thing that kind of worried me when I heard about the whole idea of Freeza joining the Universe 7 team in this tournament was that I couldn't imagine Freeza agreeing to work with Goku under any circumstance, because their grudge has just been so big and it's gotten bigger every time Freeza keeps coming back and he keeps getting defeated by Goku or someone related to Goku. So I was always thinking that it almost felt out of character for Freeza to ever agree to want to cooperate with Goku, and this episode did acknowledge it. It kind of basically said that Freeza is still basically, now that he's back to life, he's pretty much just doing anything he can to try and get out of this, get out of having to fight with Goku, and try to basically kill Goku whenever he can, as long as the opportunity is there and it means that he will be able to survive. And that is Freeza, and that is exactly the kind of thing that should happen when you bring back a villain who has a really big grudge against the heroes and says, actually, you have to work with the heroes. You're expecting them to backstab you, and that is kind of what happened, and I'm glad they acknowledged it. Also, oh, hey, it looks like Naoto Shishida did the storyboard for this episode, and Naoki Tate did some of the animation. That sounds like a pretty good combination. And what's that? Naoto Shishida also did some key animation for this episode? Oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna go and see. Oh, I wonder what it looks like. Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. That is beautiful. Honestly, this entire episode was actually, visually, was honestly really kind of stunning, but that part in particular definitely stood out. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, honestly, the thing that a lot of people enjoy this, but the thing that I'm also kind of finding a little bit strange is that I almost feel like they're making Freeza seem a little bit too competent. At least especially compared to how they usually present him in the context of this series. The way they present him is very different, especially if you compare it to Resurrection F. He's gone from having a form with such an obvious weakness that both Goku and Vegeta figure it out independently pretty quickly, to having a form that's incredibly powerful with no weaknesses. He's gone from being bossed around by Beerus and Whis to being able to successfully plot against them behind their backs. I'm not saying there's no reasons for this change and that this change doesn't make any sense. It does make sense, but it is very odd in the way that they present it, especially when you compare it to how his character is normally handled. What this essentially was kind of like a villainous version of the exact same things that they've been doing with 17 and Krillin and Gohan, in that this sort of idea where it's just sort of oh, we've kind of been doing a lot of sort of training off screen and stuff like that, and so now we've kind of come back to the story and we're really strong and we're really competent now and we're much better than what we used to be. But I think the reason as to why this is griping me when they're doing it to Freeza and not when they've been doing it to the other supporting cast members is because, unlike some of them, Freeza has come back multiple times, and every time Freeza has come back, he's just been kind of further and further stripped of his dignity. If you're following the cycle from Freeza on Namek to Freeza getting killed by Future Trunks to Freeza in Resurrection F, Freeza coming back here shouldn't feel like it should be a big deal. Goku shouldn't be challenged by him. Because he's been challenged by him so many other times already, you'd think he'd kind of almost be prepared for that. But here they're doing the complete opposite. Freeza coming back here is an even bigger deal. He's even stronger and Goku can't handle him, and that's what I'm finding kind of odd. And also, just given how much of a big kind of spectacle they made of Frieza's return, especially this episode, it did also kind of remind me the one big underlying reason I think I'm a little bit disappointed by the idea of Freeza coming back. And that is just because it kind of almost feels like Freeza is sort of hijacking the plot from every other new original character that is going to be introduced in this arc. I mean, in this arc, we basically have 7 other universes worth of antagonists here, and our suspension of disbelief is in full effect because we've never seen anything like them before. But the fact that they're hinting that one of the biggest villains in this arc is just going to be Freeza again almost feels like they have no faith in any of these new characters to be particularly interesting, and that they're just going to bring back the guys that we know already, and we know are evil already, and we know that are strong already. I know this all might sound a little bit strange, so let me put it in a metaphor that I think might be a bit easier to understand. Have you guys ever played The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess? See, there, the main villain is this Twilight King Zant. He seems very interesting, we don't really know much about him, he's got a very intimidating design, and we do really want to know more about him, but then near the end of the game we find out that the entire time he'd just kind of really just been manipulated by Ganon. Do you guys remember how mildly disappointing that was? This entire time we had this sort of new villain and all these new ideas, but then at the very end they kind of just sort of twist things so that it's just about a guy who we sort of know already, just a villain that we already know already. That's kind of what Frieza's feeling like to me. As opposed to the plot being hijacked by Ganon, the plot is being hijacked by Freeza, and everything to do with like Jiren and the other antagonists, the new guys who we don't know anything about, at this point feel like they're just going to be shoved aside just to get the return of a guy who we know really, really well at this point. I honestly would have preferred it if Dragon Ball Super did something new and actually did try to branch out with these multiverse aspects and all these new different characters, but if this arc is basically just hijacked by Freeza again, all of those characters will feel kind of superfluous, or at the very least, they just won't really feel like as much of a big deal, and it won't really feel like we're progressing the universe of Dragon Ball and going outwards and just like sort of going up to the next level if basically we just keep repeating ourselves with the same villains again and again. So as for next episode, they're actually finally going to go to the arena. The tournament is basically going to start pretty soon. I don't know if it's actually going to start next episode or the episode after, but either way the end's in sight and we're finally going to get that fight, that thing that they have been building up for like 20 episodes. I am very interested to see how all these different random extraneous plot elements will come together into one arc, and if they're going to come together, and which parts are more important than others, and you know, how important the build-up has been compared to the payoff, and whether the payoff is going to make the build-up worth it, and you know, I hope that's going to work. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 95. Honestly, a really enjoyable and well done episode. It looked great visually, looked great like animation-wise, and all of the characters felt in character. I guess the only issue I have is that they spent the entire episode and all this effort trying to make us all believe that Freeza coming back was actually going to be a really cool idea and a really big visual spectacle, and it's just going to be really, really great. And that in itself is very weird. And I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some cool ideas coming out of Freeza coming back, but I guess the issue is it kind of feels like, I still kind of feel like we're a little bit on repeat, and we've sort of at least attempted to do something like this before. And doing it like this and basically doing it this well is kind of making Resurrection F look really, really bad in retrospect. It's weird. It's like, I look at this episode and I think that it's a really good episode and I really enjoy it. It's really enjoyable, but then I also think about what it represents and I'm like, oh, I wish we could have spent all this on something that wasn't just like a return of a villain who was only really here about like 2 years ago. But hey, if they can put this kind of writing and this kind of visual spectacle into the actual like new stuff and actual like new interesting ideas, I am going to be totally down for this. Just keep up this quality, because this quality was absolutely fantastic. So this is Gabby signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!